Home to 120,000 souls, the small and quiet Hazuka Ichi City in the Japanese prefecture of Hiroshima is a far cry from the hustle and bustle of Tokyo. The modern city is known for its low crime rates and friendly atmosphere. However, one incident in 2004 will shatter this perception of safety and shock the nation. On October 5, 2004, 17-year-old Satomi Kitaguchi found herself cycling back to her home from school. She did not have classes in the afternoon, which allowed her to leave the school 3 hours earlier. Kitaguchi reached her home at 1 p.m. and during this time, her parents were working, only her grandma and sister were around. Kitaguchi was tired after school, so she did not join them to watch television in the living room. She was hungry at the lunch prepared by grandma. Food coma started to hit Kitaguchi, which caused her to feel tired, and she went up to the room to rest. Her room was located on the second floor of the house, and the room was detached from the living room. Kitaguchi planned to take a quick nap in order to have energy for her part-time job at 5 p.m. later. 1 hour later, at 3 p.m., grandma and sister were still happily binge watching their favorite variety show, but suddenly they heard someone screaming from the second floor. Unsure of whether the voice was from Kitaguchi, they quickly went up to her room to check what was going on. They made their way up from the living room to the second floor and reached her room. The door is not locked and the sister pushed in to see what happened. What they saw was the biggest shock of their lives. Kitaguchi was lying motionless on the floor with blood all over her body. What made them more frightened was that in the room stood a short-haired man holding a knife. The stranger made eye contact with grandma and her sister, which gave them chills as the man had a fierce-looking face. Kitaguchi's sister panicked and rushed out of the house in her bare feet to a nearby bonsai shop about 50 meters away from their home to ask for help. She was too scared and she could only repeat the phrase, "Sister has been stabbed," to the shop boss. After sister had already run out, grandma was shivering in fear and wanted to get out of the house. However, grandma was too slow to escape from the man as he quickly caught up to her and stabbed her multiple times in the back, which caused the old lady to fall into a pool of blood. The man then fled away frantically as he was afraid of being seen by others. Although grandma was quite badly injured by the man, she exhausted her last breath to move down to the living room to dial the police and then fainted again. The police rushed to the scene quickly along with the ambulance. They discovered the grandma's body first on the first floor and quickly rushed her to the hospital as she was quite critically injured. On the second floor, Kitaguchi's body was found and she was dead with no vital sign. Autopsy reveals that the man stabbed her in about 10 locations, including the chest, back, neck, and the fatal stab was near the heart. Grandma managed to survive despite critical back injuries as she was sent to the hospital immediately, but it took her a month to recover from this attack. From the direction the man fled from the crime scene, investigators believe that he would go even north or south. However, considering the Kauai River flows to the north and there are limited escape routes in that direction, they suspected he went south instead. The police went on to investigate and look for eyewitnesses near the house. Unfortunately, after interviewing hundreds of people near the house, not a single person saw the man. This is because it happened in the afternoon on a weekday at 3 p.m. when most people were still working. This made the police investigation difficult as they had no clue where the man went. At the same time, the police started collecting evidence around the house. They found footprints left by the man, and the shoe was a Dunlop shoe that was between 26 and 27 centimeters. They also found some unknown fingerprints in the room and extracted a male third-party DNA for under Kitaguchi's fingernail. The police interviewed Kitaguchi's grandma and her sister to get a description of the man's face since they were the only people who had a face-to-face encounter. The police created a sketch of the man based on their memories of the murderer to use in posters and television shows to appeal for help. The man is about 20 years old, has sharp eyes and lots of pimple on the cheek, a muscular physique, and is 165 centimeters tall. The police gained confidence that they were able to find the culprit with this sketch along with the footprint, fingerprint, and the third-party DNA. However, reality isn't always what we perceive it to be. Nobody from Kitaguchi's family, neighbors, or classmates can identify the person despite the effort put into drawing the sketch. This causes the murder case of Kitaguchi to have no progress as the police had no clue to investigate further. This saddened Kitaguchi's parents as their daughter had just been murdered in broad daylight and the suspect still cannot be found. Her parents saved up 3 million yen for Kitaguchi University school fees, and they didn't expect them to use this money as a reward to find the suspect who killed her daughter. The portrait of the sketch was pasted all over the streets and alley to increase the odds of someone seeing the man. Despite the struggles, the police did not give up on this case and still pressed on to get to the bottom of it. Over the next 10 years, the police investigated more than 40,000 suspects, but to no avail, and it felt like the man had just vanished into thin air without a trace. Kitaguchi's father set up his own blog post about his daughter's murder and wrote 5,000 blog posts over the span of a decade. Apart from his online efforts, he distributes flyers at the shopping center to raise awareness of this case. Her father had missed her daughter every single day and is not willing to give up until the culprit has been found. This murder case has been unsolved for many years, which got a Japanese TV show interested. They flew in a former FBI investigator from the Behavioral Analysis Unit (BAU) to investigate the case and hopefully solve it. However, nothing comes out of it, as there was too little evidence to crack the case. The case still remains deadlocked despite the effort of the high-profile investigator. In the eyes of the Japanese, most have lost hope as this case seems almost impossible to solve. However, in April 2018, the unthinkable happened, and this was a breakthrough that no one expected. The police in Yamaguchi received a call from a construction worker saying that he was kicked in the back by his supervisor. The police then went to the construction company to de-escalate and take a report. The supervisor's name is Manabu Kashima, 35 years old, who is a senior in the company with 10 years of experience. They got into a fight because Kashima had a hot temper and kicked the employee simply because he was angry. The employee felt that this was wrong and he called the police to lodge a report on his supervisor. By the time the police got there, they had already mellowed out, but the law enforcement officer still had to follow the protocol recording their statement. At the end of the interrogation, Kashima felt uneasy and was noticeably hesitating to hand over his fingerprint. This made the police feel weird about his action, as it doesn't make sense for him to feel uneasy since it was just a trivial quarreling case. After the collection of Kashima's fingerprint, the police ran them through a database, and I assume you will guess it at this point. His fingerprint matched the fingerprint found at the murder scene. Kashima was immediately arrested, as this evidence alone is enough to prove that he was the murderer. 2 years later, in March 2020, Kashima was brought to court to determine his sentence. At first, Kashima pleaded not guilty, but eventually confessed that he was a murderer after all the evidence was presented. Kashima then revealed in court about what happened during that fateful day. On that day, he rode a motorcycle from Ube to Hatsuka Ichi because he was stressed about his job and wanted to enjoy himself by taking a day off from work. When he reached Hatsuka Ichi, Kashima saw Kitaguchi cycling back to her home, and he started to develop dirty thinking towards her, so he followed Kitaguchi to her house and wanted to sexually assault her. He entered the residence around 3 PM and moved up to the second floor where she was lying on her bed. Kashima then proceeded to take action against her, but he didn't expect so much resistance from Kitaguchi. He got angry after his failed attempt, and this got him to stab her with a knife that he brought along. During the trial, Kashima's defense lawyer claimed that the crime had not been planned, as it was a spontaneous crime due to accumulated work stress. The work was tough as Kashima needed to work long hours from early morning until late at night. Furthermore, a medical evaluation showed that Kashima had a developmental disorder that prevented him from making appropriate decisions, and this crime was a spontaneous act of desperation. Obviously, the Kitaguchi family and the judge did not acknowledge his claim, as Kashima had been on the run for a decade, and this resulted in a significant impact on the bereaved family and the local community, which got to live under the fear that an intruder will come into someone's house and commit murder. His final judgment was decided on March 18, 2020 by the Hiroshima District Court, and Kashima received a life sentence in prison for the crime that he had committed 16 years ago. This case has remained an unsolved mystery for years, and with the culprit found, Kitaguchi can finally rest in peace. This story teaches us that justice always prevails over evil, and there's no way that a murderer can get over this without severe repercussions.